Have you ever felt that gut-wrenching certainty that something terrible was about to happen, but everyone around you thought you were overreacting? That's exactly what I experienced on Halloween night 5 years ago, and ignoring that feeling nearly cost 3 teenage girls their lives. My name is Derek, and what I'm about to tell you isn't some urban legend or creepypasta. This happened at Riverside Mall in Dayton, Ohio, where I worked security, and every single detail is documented in police reports that you can look up yourself if you don't believe me. Before we dive into this disturbing true story, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another terrifying real-life encounter. And drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from and what time it is there. We love connecting with our night owls and horror fans across the globe. It was October 31st, 2019, and Riverside Mall was hosting their annual Fright Night Festival. Picture this, a 40,000 square foot haunted maze in the parking lot, trick-or-treat stations throughout the mall, probably 2,000 people packed inside. Kids in costumes, running everywhere, parents trying to keep track of them, teenagers using the chaos to sneak around. As security, Halloween was always our busiest night, but we'd done this for 6 years straight without any major incidents. That was about to change. I was doing my rounds near the food court around 7 p.m. when I first noticed him, a man in a maintenance uniform, maybe mid-30s, average height, nothing particularly memorable about him except for one thing. He wasn't one of our maintenance guys. Now, we did hire extra help for big events, but something about how he moved bothered me. He wasn't cleaning anything or fixing anything. He was taking photos with his phone, not selfies or pictures of decorations, but specific shots of emergency exits, security camera positions, and the layout of the haunted maze from different angles. I radioed my partner Kyle about it. "Hey, you know anything about a new maintenance guy? Brown hair, blue uniform, near the food court?" Kyle came back laughing. "Derek, man, we got like 15 extra maintenance people tonight. You're being paranoid again." See, I had a reputation for being the overly cautious one, the guy who always assumed the worst. Kyle always joked that I saw potential kidnappers in every dad at the playground, but this felt different. The way this man studied everything, the way he timed our security rounds, counting under his breath as I passed. He was planning something. I decided to approach him casually. "Hey there, busy night, huh?" I said, trying to sound friendly. He barely looked up from his phone. "Yeah, real busy," he muttered, immediately walking away toward the service corridor. I noticed he had a slight limp in his left leg, and when he gripped his phone, I caught a glimpse of a distinctive scar across his left hand, running from his thumb to his pinky. That scar would become important later. For the next hour, I kept tabs on him between my regular duties. He never went to the maintenance office, never signed in with our staff coordinator, never actually cleaned or fixed anything, but he did spend a lot of time near the haunted maze, specifically around the emergency exits that were supposed to remain locked during operating hours. When I checked those exits later, I found fresh scratches around the lock mechanisms, like someone had been testing them with tools. I tried bringing it up to my supervisor, Janet, but she was dealing with a lost kid situation and brushed me off. "Derek, unless he actually does something, we can't just hassle workers because they're taking breaks or whatever. Focus on real problems." The thing is, in security, by the time someone actually does something, it's usually too late. Prevention is the whole point, but nobody wanted to hear it on our busiest night of the year. Around 8:15, I was stationed near the haunted maze entrance, checking wristbands and managing the line. The maze was the big attraction, a professional setup with actors, animatronics, fog machines, the works. It took most people about 15 to 20 minutes to get through, though some teenagers like to hide and try to scare other groups, so sometimes it took longer. That's when I saw them. 3 girls, probably 15 or 16, laughing and taking selfies as they entered. Ashley, Megan, and Brooke. I only know their names now because of what happened next. Ashley was dressed as Harley Quinn, Megan was a vampire, and Brooke wore a witch costume. They were local high school students, best friends since middle school, out for a fun Halloween night, while their parents waited at the Starbucks inside the mall. As they entered the maze, I caught movement in my peripheral vision. The maintenance man was back, this time standing near the emergency exit on the far side of the maze, partially hidden behind a delivery truck. He had something in his hands. Through the dim parking lot lights, it looked like bolt cutters. My blood went cold. I immediately radioed Kyle. Code yellow at the maze emergency exit, south side. I need backup to check it out. Code yellow meant suspicious activity, not quite an emergency, but needed immediate attention. Kyle responded that he was dealing with a shoplifting situation and would be there in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. In security, 5 minutes might as well be an hour when something's going down. I made a decision that probably saved those girls' lives. I abandoned my post at the entrance and jogged toward the emergency exit. As I got closer, the maintenance man saw me coming. He quickly shoved whatever he was holding into his jacket and started walking away, trying to look casual. "Hey, sir, I need to talk to you," I called out, but he kept walking. I followed him, but then hesitated. What if I was wrong? What if he really was just maintenance, checking the exits? What if I caused a scene on our busiest night over nothing? I decided to check the emergency exit door first. The lock had been cut clean through. The door was being held shut only by a piece of wire wrapped around the handle, easy to remove from inside. Someone had prepared an escape route. My heart started pounding. I radioed again, this time more urgent. "All units, we have a compromised emergency exit at the haunted maze. Possible attempted abduction setup. I need backup now." Janet's voice crackled back, annoyed. "Derek, what are you talking about? You can't just call possible abduction without—" I cut her off. "The emergency exit lock is cut. Someone's planning to take people out through this door." That changed everything. Within 30 seconds, Kyle arrived, followed by 2 other security guards. Janet called the police while we started evacuating the maze. But here's the thing about evacuating a haunted attraction. People think it's part of the show. Actors are trying to scare them, customers are screaming and running already, and now security is yelling for everyone to exit immediately. It was chaos. We had to literally go through section by section, turning on all the lights, breaking character for all the actors, ruining the experience for about 100 paying customers. And the whole time, I kept thinking about those 3 girls who'd entered right before I spotted the cut lock. 45 minutes. That's how long those 3 girls had been inside the maze when we finished the evacuation. Every other customer was out, complaining loudly about refunds while we counted heads. Ashley, Megan, and Brooke were nowhere to be found. Their parents, who'd been casually sipping coffee, went from confused to terrified in about 10 seconds when we told them their daughters were missing. "What do you mean, missing?" Ashley's mom grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises. "They went in that maze. Where else could they be?" That's when I had to tell them about the cut lock, about the maintenance man who wasn't really maintenance. The color drained from their faces. Brooke's father, a big guy who probably hadn't run in years, took off sprinting toward the maze before Kyle tackled him. "Sir, the police are on their way. You contaminating the scene won't help find them." While Janet coordinated with arriving police units, I pulled Kyle aside. That maintenance guy, I saw him earlier taking pictures, studying the exits. He had a scar across his left hand. Kyle's expression changed. Wait, scar on his hand? Derek, I saw that guy 2 weeks ago at the job fair. He was applying for security positions. My stomach dropped. The job fair. We'd held it in the mall conference room, giving tours to potential hires, showing them security protocols, emergency procedures, even the blueprint layouts for training purposes. Detective Walsh arrived within 12 minutes, faster than I'd ever seen police respond. Turns out, Brooke was diabetic and wore an insulin pump with GPS tracking. Her father had already called it in as a medical emergency. Walsh was all business, gray-haired, probably seen everything in his 20 years on the force, but even he looked concerned when we showed him the security footage we'd pulled. The timestamp showed 8:23 p.m., the maintenance man entering the maze through the compromised exit, carrying a large duffel bag. 8:31 p.m., just 8 minutes later, the cameras caught him leaving through the same exit. The duffel bag now clearly heavier, struggling with the weight. But here's what made everyone's blood run cold. He wasn't alone. The footage was grainy, but you could see small movements inside the bag. Multiple movements. He drugged them, Walsh said quietly. Probably chloroform or something similar in that confined space. They never had a chance. The detective immediately called for roadblocks, but we all knew the truth. He had at least a 40-minute head start. In 40 minutes, you could be 3 counties away. That's when technology became our unexpected ally. Brooke's insulin pump was still transmitting. The signal showed movement, heading north on Interstate 75, maintaining a steady 70 miles per hour, smart enough not to speed, not to draw attention. But then, around 9:15, the signal went dark. Either the battery died, or someone discovered it and destroyed it. The last known position was near a rest stop in Shelby County. While units raced toward that location, I remembered something. Detective, when that guy was here for the job fair, we would have made him fill out an application. Background, check consent, references, everything. Walsh's eyes lit up. Get me those files, now. Janet ran to the HR office while parents made frantic phone calls. Megan's mom discovered something terrifying on her daughter's Instagram. 3 weeks of messages from an account called Maintenance Max 91. Generic profile picture, no real posts, but dozens of messages getting progressively more personal. I see you at the mall sometimes. That Halloween costume you bought is perfect. Can't wait to see you wear it. The girls had blocked the account, reported it, but never told their parents. Just some creep on the internet, they'd figured. Nothing that seemed connected to real life. Except now, we knew he'd been watching them, studying them, planning this. The HR files changed everything. Timothy Brenner, 34 years old, applied for 3 different positions over 2 months: security, maintenance, and even retail. Each application rejected for the same reason: a sealed juvenile record that flagged during background checks. But here's what made Detective Walsh slam his fist on the desk. Timothy's emergency contact was his mother, Patricia Brenner, with an address in Shelby County, right where the insulin pump signal died. "We've got him," Walsh said, already on his phone coordinating units. But I felt sick. Something wasn't right. Detective, wait. This feels too easy. He planned everything else down to the second. Why would he use his real name on applications? Walsh paused, considering this. That's when Kyle pulled up something on his phone. Guys, you need to see this. It was a news article from 2015. Patricia Brenner, murdered in her home. The killer? Her son Timothy, then 28, found not guilty by reason of insanity, spent 3 years in a psychiatric facility before being released to a halfway house. The article included a photo, different hair, clean-shaven, but that scar across his left hand was unmistakable. "He's not going to his mother's house," I said. "He's using it as misdirection. He knows we'd find those applications." Walsh's phone rang. State troopers had reached the rest stop. They'd found something. Brooks' insulin pump, smashed and left in a trash can, but also something else. A receipt from a gas station time-stamped 9:03 p.m. Security cameras from the station were being pulled now. While we waited, the parents were falling apart. Ashley's dad kept showing people her photo. "She's only 15. She plays violin. She's supposed to have her recital next week." Megan's parents were on the phone with family, organizing their own search parties. Brooks' mom hadn't stopped crying, clutching her daughter's spare glasses they'd left in the car. Then Walsh's phone buzzed. The gas station footage was in. We huddled around his tablet, watching grainy black and white video. There he was, Timothy Brenner, filling up a white van. But for 3 seconds, the camera caught something that made everyone gasp. As he walked past the rear windows, you could see shapes inside, moving shapes. The girls were alive, at least at 9:03, but the van didn't match anything registered to Timothy Brenner. Walsh ran the plates. The van belonged to Harold Brenner, Timothy's father, who died in 2018. The registration had never been updated. It was essentially a ghost vehicle, invisible to standard traffic stops. "He's had this planned for years," Walsh muttered, keeping his father's vehicle off the grid, studying locations, selecting victims. That word, victims, made Brooks' father lose it. He grabbed me by the shoulders. "You saw him. You knew something was wrong. Why didn't you stop him earlier?" I had no answer. He was right. I'd known, felt it in my gut, but I'd let protocol and skepticism delay me. Those 45 minutes haunted me. If I'd acted immediately when I saw those bolt cutters, if I'd trusted my instincts instead of worrying about causing a scene, those girls would be safe. Walsh pulled me aside. "Listen, son, you did everything right. You caught this. Without you, we wouldn't even know they were missing until morning. Parents would have thought they ran off or went to a party." But his reassurance felt hollow. The FBI arrived at 11:47 p.m., taking over the conference room we'd turned into a command center. Special Agent Rivera, a woman who looked like she hadn't slept in days, immediately started connecting dots we hadn't even seen. "This matches a pattern. Ohio State Fair, 2017. 3 teenage girls vanished from a haunted house attraction, never found. Kentucky Derby Festival, 2018. 2 girls, 16 and 17, disappeared from a crowded street fair, never found." The room went silent. This wasn't his first time. We weren't dealing with an impulsive predator. This was a serial kidnapper who'd been operating for years, using holiday crowds and chaos as cover, and he'd gotten away with it every single time. Until tonight. Tonight, we had his name, his photo, his vehicle. The question was whether it would be enough. Agent Rivera's team transformed our mall into something from a crime thriller. Mobile command units, satellite uplinks, behavioral analysts flying in from Quantico. By midnight, they'd mapped out Timothy Brenner's entire life. Foster homes, psychiatric holds, unemployed for 6 years, but somehow paying cash for storage units across 3 states. That detail made everyone freeze. Storage units meant he was keeping something, or someone. "We've got movement," a tech analyst announced. Traffic cameras caught the white van heading east on Route 40, timestamp 10:47 p.m. but instead of continuing toward Indiana, it turned south onto an agricultural access road. No cameras out there, just farmland and abandoned properties for miles. Rivera pulled up satellite imagery. There, Crenshaw Farm, foreclosed in 2016, no registered owner, but someone's been paying the electricity bill. The thermal imaging showed heat signatures in what looked like an old barn. Walsh was already mobilizing SWAT, but Rivera held up her hand. Wait, if he's following his pattern, we have time. He keeps them for exactly 72 hours before moving them permanently. Everyone knew what that meant, but nobody would say it out loud. Not with the parents in the next room. Ashley's mom had found her daughter's TikTok still live streaming from her phone, showing nothing but darkness and muffled sounds. 20,000 viewers watching nothing, praying for any sign of life. I couldn't sit still. I'm going with the tactical team, I told Walsh. He shook his head, but I persisted. I know his walk, his build, how he moves. I've studied this guy for hours. You need me there. It was bullshit, and we both knew it, but guilt was eating me alive. Walsh finally nodded. The drive to Crenshaw Farm took 37 minutes. Longest 37 minutes of my life. Kyle insisted on coming too, riding in the back of the tactical van, both of us wearing borrowed vests that said, Observer. The radio chatter was constant. Aerial surveillance showed the van parked behind the barn. No movement visible. Thermal imaging detected 4 heat signatures in the barn's basement. 4, not 3. He's got someone else, Rivera's voice crackled through. Someone from before. This changes. Everything. We go in fast and hard. The convoy killed their lights 2 miles out, approaching in darkness. Night vision showed the farmhouse collapsed on one side. Windows boarded, but the barn looked maintained. Too maintained. New padlocks, reinforced doors. And was that chicken wire over all the windows? We positioned 50 yards away while SWAT prepared to breach. That's when we heard it. Screaming. Not terror screaming, but angry screaming. A girl's voice, young but furious. You sick freak! When they find us, you're done! My dad's a lawyer! You hear me? A lawyer! It was Megan, alive and fighting. The team leader gave the signal. Flashbangs shattered the night as doors exploded inward. I watched through binoculars as tactical officers swarmed the barn. Basement access secured, someone shouted. Need medical now! The next 10 minutes were chaos. Radio calls overlapping, officers shouting coordinates, and then, finally, the words everyone needed to hear. 4 females recovered alive. Repeat, 4 alive. Suspect not on premises. Not on premises. My blood went cold. Where was Timothy? The ambulances screamed onto the scene as they brought the girls out. Ashley, Megan, and Brooke, wrapped in emergency blankets, dehydrated and traumatized, but walking. The 4th was a girl nobody recognized, maybe 19, who'd been missing from Cincinnati for 2 weeks. Her family hadn't even filed a report, thinking she'd run off with some boyfriend. Megan was still cursing as they loaded her into the ambulance. He said he'd be back tomorrow with friends, said we were the start of his collection. She looked directly at me, eyes fierce despite everything. He knew your name, said the security guard Derek almost ruined everything, but it worked out better because now he's famous. Famous. The word hit like ice water. While we'd been focused on finding the girls, Timothy had accomplished what every predator dreams of. He'd become known. His name, his methods, his victims. It would all be on every news channel by morning. Rivera's phone rang. She listened, her face darkening. Timothy Brenner just uploaded a video to YouTube 15 minutes ago from inside what looks like another basement with another girl. The YouTube video had 3 million views in 40 minutes before the FBI got it taken down, but the internet never forgets. Timothy staring directly into the camera, his scarred hand visible as he gestured. Behind him, a girl maybe 14 years old, gagged, tied to a chair, wearing a Halloween costume from some anime I didn't recognize. The title, Security Guard Derek Parker Failed Again. Parker. He knew my last name. Worse, in the video description, he'd posted my address, my girlfriend's name, where she worked, even my mother's phone number. Within minutes, reporters were calling everyone I knew. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what he said in the video. Derek thought he was a hero tonight. Saved 3 girls. But while you were all at that farm, I grabbed little Emma here from a Halloween party 2 blocks from Derek's house. See, Derek, you can't save them all, and tomorrow night, while you're hiding from the media, I'll take 3 more. Maybe from that elementary school your girlfriend teaches at. Rivera's team traced the upload to a public library in Columbus, but he was long gone. The girl in the video, Emma Chen, had been reported missing 3 hours ago from a house party. Her parents hadn't even connected it to the mall incident yet. They thought she'd snuck out with friends. He's accelerating, Rivera said, pacing the command center. This isn't his pattern anymore. He's improvising, getting sloppy. But Walsh disagreed. No, he's getting angry. This is personal now. Derek disrupted his plan, saved his victims. He wants revenge. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Death threats from strangers who thought I'd failed, interview requests from every major network, and one text that made my blood freeze. From an unknown number, just a photo. My girlfriend Sarah getting into her car at the grocery store, taken from maybe 20 feet away. The timestamp was 5 minutes ago. I called her immediately. Where are you? She was confused. Just leaving Kroger, why? Derek, what's wrong? I told her to drive straight to the police station. Don't go home. Don't stop anywhere. While she drove, I had officers dispatched to escort her. Timothy was watching us, hunting us. The rescued girls were being interviewed at the hospital, and what they revealed painted an even darker picture. Timothy hadn't worked alone at the farm. He'd mentioned a partner, someone he called the collector, who had other locations, other girls. The Cincinnati girl, Rebecca, had counted at least 6 different voices during her 2 weeks in captivity. This wasn't one predator. It was a network. Emma Chen's costume was the key. Rivera's team figured it out when they enhanced the video. It wasn't just any anime costume. It was from a specific series that had a convention happening that weekend in Columbus. 30,000 attendees expected, teenagers everywhere in costumes, masks, face paint, the perfect hunting ground for predators. He's not running, Rivera announced. He's recruiting, using this media attention to connect with other predators. The video was an advertisement. She pulled up dark web forums already buzzing with Timothy's name. Hundreds of replies from anonymous users praising him, offering to help, sharing their own hunting grounds. One message stood out, posted by someone called Maintenance Max 91, Timothy's old Instagram handle. The harvest continues tomorrow. Columbus Convention Center. Join me. My phone rang. Sarah had made it to the police station, but she was sobbing. Derek, there was a note on my windshield, under the wiper. The officer with her read it to me. She's pretty, Derek. Maybe I'll add her to my collection tomorrow. Bring the cops. It'll make it more fun. That's when I snapped. I'm going to that convention, with or without backup. Rivera studied me for a long moment. You're a security guard, not law enforcement. But Walsh backed me up. He knows Derek's face, Derek might be the only one who can spot him in a crowd that size. They agreed, but only with conditions. I'd wear a wire, have undercover officers within 50 feet at all times, and absolutely no heroics. The plan was simple. Spot Timothy, call it in. Let SWAT handle it. But everyone knew it wouldn't be that simple. Convention meant thousands of teens, multiple floors, dozens of entry points. As they fitted me with surveillance gear, Megan's father approached. His daughter had told him something else. Timothy had notebooks in the barn, detailed plans for what he called the Halloween harvest. October 31st wasn't the end. It was the beginning. He planned to take one girl from every major Halloween event across 5 states. Tomorrow was November 1st, Day of the Dead celebrations, Dia de los Muertos festivals, and that anime convention, thousands of potential victims, and somewhere in those crowds, Timothy Brenner would be hunting. The only question was whether we could stop him before he found Emma Chen's replacement. Columbus Convention Center, November 1st, 2 p.m. 20,000 people in costume, and I was looking for one monster among dozens of fake ones. The FBI had 40 agents scattered throughout, facial recognition cameras at every entrance, but Timothy knew we were coming. He'd basically invited us. Sarah was in protective custody, moved to a safe house after 2 more photos showed up, one of her classroom, one of her sister's apartment. Timothy was making it clear everyone I cared about was a potential target, but that also meant he was spreading himself thin, making mistakes. The photos had partial fingerprints. His van was spotted on traffic cameras heading toward Columbus at 6 a.m. I was stationed near the main entrance when Kyle's voice crackled through my earpiece. "Derek, you need to see the vendor hall. Now." I made my way through crowds of cosplayers, and then I saw it. A maintenance supply booth that hadn't been there during setup yesterday. The vendor behind the table wore coveralls and a baseball cap pulled low, but vendors don't usually have tactical boots or scarred left hands. "Positive ID," I whispered into my wire. "Vendor hall, northwest corner." But as agents moved in, the lights went out. The entire convention center plunged into darkness. Screams erupted, not playful Halloween screams, but genuine panic. Emergency lights kicked on seconds later, casting everything in red. The maintenance booth was empty, just a mannequin in coveralls. "He's using the blackout as cover," Rivera's voice commanded. "All units, nobody leaves this building." But Timothy had planned better than that. Fire alarms started blaring. Evacuation protocol kicked in automatically. 20,000 people rushing for exits, and we couldn't stop them without causing a stampede. That's when I spotted her. Emma Chen, the girl from the video, standing frozen near the gaming tournament area. Not tied up, not gagged, just standing there in that same anime costume, staring at nothing. I rushed over. "Emma, are you okay?" She turned to me with empty eyes. "He said you'd come, said to give you this." She handed me a phone. On the screen, a live stream. Timothy's face filled the frame. "Hello, Derek. While you're saving Emma, who I released an hour ago, by the way, I'm at Sarah's safe house. Funny thing about safe houses, they're only safe if nobody knows where they are." My blood turned to ice. The stream panned to show Sarah unconscious in the back seat of a car. Rivera was already shouting orders, units racing to the safe house, but we all knew he'd be gone. This was another misdirection. But then Emma said something that changed everything. "There's more of us in the basement, the old maintenance tunnels under the center. He didn't let me go. I escaped when the lights went out. He's still down there with them." The convention center's underground was a maze of service tunnels, storage rooms, and old Cold War-era fallout shelters. Perfect for hiding, perfect for hunting. SWAT assembled at the maintenance entrance, while Emma, shaking, drew us a map. 6 girls, maybe 7. There's a room with chains on the walls. He calls it his showroom. We descended in tactical formation, infrared showing nothing but cold concrete. The tunnels stretched for miles, connecting to storm drains, subway maintenance shafts, even other buildings. That's when we heard it, singing. A young girl's voice, singing a lullaby. The sound echoed off the walls, impossible to pinpoint. "It's a recording," one officer said, but I knew better. The singing had a quality to it, a tremor that only comes from real fear. We followed the sound deeper, past abandoned equipment, through doorways that hadn't been opened in decades. And then we found it, a steel door, recently installed with a digital lock. The singing was coming from behind it. The breaching charge was set when my phone buzzed. Another video from Timothy. This time, he wasn't alone. 3 men stood with him, all wearing identical maintenance uniforms, all with scarred left hands, surgical scars deliberately made to match his. "The collectors," Rivera breathed. "He's building a cult." The video showed Sarah waking up, confused, as Timothy spoke. "Derek, you have a choice. Save the girls in the tunnels or save Sarah. I'm at the Riverside Mall, your old workplace. Seems fitting to end where we began. You have 20 minutes." The door exploded inward. 7 girls, aged 13 to 17, chained but alive. Among them, 2 who'd been missing for months, cases that weren't even connected to Timothy until now. But no Timothy and no Sarah. Rivera grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. "It's a trap. He wants you to come alone." I knew she was right, but I also knew Timothy. He was narcissistic, needed an audience, needed to win. He wouldn't kill Sarah without me watching. That's what he really wanted, to break me. "I'm going," I said, "but not alone, not this time." Riverside Mall, 3:47 p.m. The place was supposed to be closed for the weekend, but Timothy had somehow gotten inside. Of course he had. He'd studied every entrance, every security blind spot during his fake job applications. As our convoy screamed into the parking lot, I saw Sarah's car parked by the service entrance, driver's door open, her purse spilled on the asphalt. "Derek, we do this by the book," Rivera warned, but I was already out of the vehicle. SWAT fanned out, covering all exits, but I knew Timothy wouldn't run. This was his stage. He'd chosen this place specifically to humiliate me where I'd failed to stop him initially. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Come to the food court, Derek, alone, or Sweet Sarah becomes part of my permanent collection." In the background, I heard Sarah whimper. She was alive, conscious. Rivera started to protest, but I was already walking through the entrance I'd patrolled hundreds of times. The mall felt different, empty. Every footstep echoed. Security cameras followed my movement. Timothy was in the control room, watching everything. The food court was lit by emergency lighting, casting long shadows. And there, in the center, was Sarah, tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth, mascara streaming down her face. But no Timothy. "Good boy, Derek." His voice came over the mall's PA system. "Now, let's play a game. You have 10 minutes to find me. Every minute you fail, Sarah loses something. Let's start with a finger." Sarah's eyes went wide with terror. I scanned the food court, looking for any sign of him. The PA crackled again. "Oh, and Derek, your FBI friends are listening. I know. If anyone else enters this mall, if I see a single cop on my cameras, Sarah dies immediately." Rivera's voice in my earpiece. "Derek, stall him. We're mapping the building's electrical system. We can kill his cameras." But I knew Timothy better now. He wasn't just watching cameras. the scarred hand cult members. They were here too. I could feel eyes on me from multiple directions. "Timothy!" I shouted. "You want me? Not her. Let's finish this." His laugh echoed through the empty mall. "But that's no fun. You took my collection. Now I take yours." A figure moved in my peripheral vision. Second floor, near the old GameStop. Not Timothy. Wrong build. One of his followers. 8 minutes left. I started moving, using the mall's layout I knew by heart. The service corridors, the blind spots I'd documented in my own security reports. If Timothy was watching cameras, there were only 3 places he could be: the main security office, the auxiliary control room, or the server room in the basement. A scream. Sarah's scream, muffled but unmistakable. 7 minutes. "Derek, better hurry." I ran toward the basement access, but stopped. Something was wrong. The scream came from the speakers, but there was an echo, a real echo, not electronic. Sarah wasn't just on camera, she was actually somewhere in the mall. "Timothy made a mistake," I whispered into my wire. "Sarah's here, not in the food court. That's a decoy." Rivera responded immediately. Thermal imaging shows 5 heat signatures. Basement level, northeast section. 5. Timothy, Sarah, and 3 accomplices. But thermal couldn't tell me which was which. I changed direction, heading for the basement stairs I'd used 1,000 times. That's when I saw it. Drops of blood on the floor, fresh, leading toward the maintenance tunnel. Not Sarah's blood. The drops were too regular, too deliberate. Breadcrumbs, 4 minutes. The basement was a maze of storage rooms and mechanical systems. I followed the blood trail, knowing it was exactly what Timothy wanted. The trail led to the old Halloween storage room, where we kept decorations year-round. The door was open, light spilling out. Inside, monitors everywhere, all showing different angles of the mall. And in the center, Timothy Brenner, sitting calmly in an office chair. No Sarah. But behind him, his 3 followers, all armed with what looked like modified cattle prods. 2 minutes, Derek, Timothy said, not even looking at me. But here's the thing. Sarah's not here. She's in the parking garage, in a van with a very special surprise. You can try to fight us and maybe win, maybe lose. Or you can save her. Your choice. He turned to face me, and I saw the detonator in his hand. Oh, yes. I learned some new skills in the hospital. Amazing what you can find on the internet. On one monitor, I could see Sarah in a van, surrounded by what looked like propane tanks and wiring. You're bluffing, I said, but my voice shook. Timothy smiled. Am I? Want to bet Sarah's life on it? One of his followers stepped forward, and I recognized him, the janitor from the convention center, the hot dog vendor from Halloween night. They'd all been there, watching, helping. 30 seconds, Derek. Decision time. I made the only choice I could. I ran. Behind me, Timothy's laugh echoed through the basement as I sprinted for the parking garage. Rivera was screaming in my earpiece. Derek, it's a trap. Wait for the bomb squad. But there was no time. The parking garage elevator was too slow. I took the stairs 3 at a time, my chest burning. The garage was dark except for a single van parked under a flickering light. Level B2, the deepest part. Sarah was visible through the rear windows, struggling against restraints. I could see the propane tanks, the wiring, a digital timer showing slow. Get ya inside. I yanked the van door open. Sarah's eyes were wild with panic above the duct tape. The bomb was crude but effective. 5 propane tanks wired to a simple phone trigger. But there was no timer, just tanks and wires. Timothy had lied about the countdown to make me panic. Derek, get down! Rivera's voice exploded in my ear. I turned to see Timothy himself walking toward us, not holding a detonator, but a pistol, the same Glock 19 that had been stolen from a police vehicle last month. I pulled Sarah down just as the first shot shattered the van's window. Glass rained over us as I frantically cut her restraints with my pocket knife. Timothy kept advancing, firing methodically. "You think you're the hero, Derek? You're nobody. A mall cop who got lucky." Sarah's hands came free. I shoved her toward the concrete pillar. "Run!" But she grabbed my hand instead, pulling me with her as Timothy's fourth shot sparked off the ground where I'd been kneeling. We ducked behind cars, Timothy's footsteps echoing in the empty garage. "I studied you, Derek," Timothy called out. "Read all your incident reports. You always hesitate, always need backup, never take the shot." He was right. In 6 years of security work, I'd never once pulled my weapon in actual confrontation, but he didn't know about the Glock 43 Kyle had slipped me before I entered the mall. The weight of it pressed against my ankle. A sound from behind us, one of Timothy's followers coming down the stairwell. We were being boxed in. Sarah clutched my arm, her breathing ragged. "Derek," she whispered, "the bombs are fake. I saw him setting it up. It's just propane tanks and Christmas lights." Of course, Timothy was many things, but he wasn't a bomb maker. It was another performance, another manipulation, which meant his gun might be empty too. How many shots had he fired? 4? 5? A Glock 19 held 15 rounds, but would Timothy have a full magazine? I heard Rivera on the radio. "All units, we're breaching in 30 seconds. Timothy heard it too. His voice got desperate. "They'll arrest me, Derek. Put me back in the hospital, but I'll get out again. I always do. And next time, I'll start with your mother, then Sarah's sister, then—" I stood up, just stood up from behind the car in plain view. Timothy froze, his gun trained on my chest. We were maybe 20 feet apart. Behind him, I could see his followers at the stairwell, but they weren't moving. They were watching, waiting to see who would win. "You're out of bullets," I said. It was a guess, but Timothy's eye twitched. "You fired 6 shots. You're not the type to carry extra magazines. Too confident. Too theatrical." Timothy pulled the trigger. Click. Empty. The next part happened in slow motion. Timothy charged, reaching for something in his jacket. I dropped to one knee, drawing Kyle's Glock from my ankle holster. He was 10 feet away when I fired. Once, center mass. Timothy crumpled, the knife he'd been pulling clattering across the concrete. His followers scattered as SWAT flooded the garage. I dropped the gun immediately, hands up, even as Rivera's team surrounded us. Sarah crashed into me, sobbing. Timothy was on the ground, gasping, blood pooling beneath him. He looked up at me with those empty eyes and actually smiled. You did it," he wheezed. "You finally took the shot. I made you, like me, a killer." The paramedics arrived, working on him frantically, but I could see it in their faces. He wasn't going to make it. "You're wrong," I told him. "I'm nothing like you." Timothy coughed, blood speckling his lips. Check the mall, food court." Then his eyes went vacant. The paramedics kept working, but Timothy Brenner was gone. The food court. Timothy's last words sent everyone into motion. SWAT cleared the mall section by section, while I sat in the back of an ambulance, Sarah refusing to let go of my hand. My mind kept replaying the moment I pulled the trigger. 6 years of security work, and it took a monster to make me a killer. Rivera approached, her face grim. "Derek, we found something. You need to see this." Against protocol, she led me back into the mall. The food court was exactly as I'd left it, except for one thing. The chair where I thought Sarah had been tied, there was someone there. A mannequin dressed exactly like Sarah, down to the same jacket. But that wasn't what Rivera wanted me to see. Behind the counter of the abandoned subway, they'd found a room nobody knew existed, Timothy's real headquarters. The walls were covered in photos, hundreds of them. Every girl he'd taken, every girl he'd planned to take. And in the center, a map of the United States with red pins in 17 cities. Each pin is a missing person case, Rivera explained. Goes back 12 years. He wasn't lying about the network. On a desk, they found notebooks filled with Timothy's handwriting, detailed accounts of each abduction, each murder. The 7 girls we'd saved were meant to be sold to other collectors. Timothy had been running a human trafficking ring disguised as random abductions, but the worst discovery was a laptop still logged into a dark web forum. The screen showed a live stream titled, "The Harvest Continues." Another man in a maintenance uniform, standing in what looked like a different basement, with 3 teenage girls visible in the background. The stream had been running for hours, thousands of viewers, comments flooding in with Bitcoin donations. Timothy's death triggered this, Rivera said. They're turning him into a martyr. The username on the stream was Maintenance Max 92. While we'd been focused on Timothy, his network was already replacing him. The 3 followers we'd arrested weren't talking, but their phones revealed everything. A group chat with 47 members across 12 states, all calling themselves collectors. Sarah found her voice. The man who grabbed me, it wasn't Timothy. He was younger, maybe 20s. Timothy stayed in the van giving orders while this other guy did the actual kidnapping. We'd assumed Timothy worked with 3 people. The real number was closer to 50. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown. At number, Derek Parker, you killed our prophet. The harvest will continue. Your family will pay the price. Attached was a photo of my mother at her home in Michigan, taken that morning. Another text followed immediately, a photo of Sarah's sister at work, then Sarah's parents at their house. They're not going to stop, I said, the weight of it crushing me. I didn't end anything. I just made it worse. Rivera put her hand on my shoulder. You saved 7 girls today. 8, counting Emma. That's what matters. But it didn't feel like enough. Not when Timothy's laptop showed 17 more cities with active harvests planned. The FBI task force exploded into one of the largest operations in history. Within hours, raids were conducted across 6 states, 23 arrests, 14 more girls found alive, and evidence of a trafficking network that had operated for over a decade. Timothy hadn't been the leader. He'd been middle management. The real orchestrators were still out there. Sarah and I were placed in witness protection immediately. New names, new city, no contact with family. The FBI said it would be temporary, just until they dismantle the network. That was 3 years ago. We're still in hiding, still waiting. Every Halloween, we leave town completely. Every time I see someone in a maintenance uniform, my hand goes to the gun I'm now licensed to carry. The collectors, as the media dubbed them, made Timothy Brenner famous. His manifesto was published online before the FBI could stop it. Copycat attempts happened in 3 cities the following Halloween. 2 were stopped. 1 wasn't. 3 girls in Portland vanished from a haunted house attraction. They've never been found. I testified via video link at the trials of Timothy's accomplices. 11 got life sentences. 4 got death row. But during the trial, something emerged that haunts me more than anything. Timothy had a son, a boy who'd been living with relatives, now 17 years old, the same age as some of Timothy's victims. The prosecutor showed a letter Timothy had written him from the barn, never sent. Continue the harvest, it said. You are my legacy. 3 years later, present day, October 30th. I'm recording this story now because tomorrow is Halloween, and I know they're coming. Sarah doesn't know I'm making this recording. She's asleep upstairs in our third safe house this year, finally getting some rest after weeks of insomnia. The FBI says we're secure, but I've learned to trust my instincts, and my instincts are screaming. Yesterday, I saw him, Timothy's son, Logan Brenner, now 20 years old, walking past our house even though we're in a different state, different names, everything supposed to be classified. He looked right at our window, right at me. Same empty eyes as his father, but younger, stronger, smarter. The FBI says I'm paranoid, that Logan's been in college in Vermont, that their surveillance shows nothing unusual. But surveillance didn't stop his father. The collectors' network was supposed to be destroyed. 47 arrests, they told us. Case closed. But last week, a maintenance man came to fix our neighbor's HVAC system. He had a scar on his left hand. Fresh. Deliberate. When I reported it, the FBI found no record of any HVAC appointment. The neighbor doesn't remember calling anyone. The security footage from that day, corrupted. Sarah thinks I'm losing it. Maybe I am, but I keep Kyle updated through encrypted messages. He's a real cop now, promoted after the mall incident. He tells me things the FBI won't, like how 13 girls have gone missing this month across the country, all from Halloween events. Like how each crime scene has the same message written in UV paint. For Timothy. Tonight, while doing my obsessive perimeter check, I found something under our car. A GPS tracker, but not a professional one. Homemade, crude, the kind Timothy used to use. But here's what made my blood freeze. Attached to it was a photo. Me at the exact moment I shot Timothy, taken from a security camera angle I didn't know existed. Someone was there. Someone recorded it. Someone's been holding on to this for 3 years. Waiting. I've packed our emergency bags, fake IDs, cash, weapons, everything we need to disappear again. But I'm tired of running, tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of being hunted. Sarah deserves better than this half-life we're living. So I've made a decision that she doesn't know about yet. I've been talking to Rivera. Tomorrow night, Halloween, they're setting up a sting operation, using me as bait. The FBI has a Halloween festival planned in a controlled environment, with hundreds of undercover agents. They've leaked our location to suspected collector channels. Logan will come. They all will. And this time, we'll end it properly. Sarah will hate me for this, for making us targets again. But those 7 girls I saved 3 years ago, they write to me through the FBI. They're in college now, living their lives, free because someone stood up to the darkness. There are more girls out there who need saving. More families who shouldn't have to suffer. I can hear something outside. Footsteps on gravel. Too heavy to be a trick-or-treater. Too deliberate to be random. My motion sensors just triggered on the north side of the house, then the east. Multiple contacts. They're surrounding us. The FBI panic button is armed, but response time is 12 minutes. In 12 minutes, this could all be over. Sarah's awake now. She knows something's wrong. She always knows. I'm uploading this recording to the cloud, to Kyle, to Rivera, to everyone. If something happens tonight, if we disappear, you'll know why. You'll know Timothy Brenner didn't work alone. You'll know his son continued the legacy. You'll know the collectors are still out there, still hunting. The power just cut out. Sarah's trying to call 911, but the cell tower's jammed. Classic Timothy tactics, but more sophisticated. Logan learned from his father's mistakes. The bedroom door is barricaded, but I can hear them in the house now. Multiple footsteps. They're not trying to be quiet anymore. They want us to know they're here. Sarah's holding the backup gun I trained her to use. Her hands aren't shaking anymore. 3 years of fear have turned into rage. Good. We're not victims. We're survivors. And if tonight is our last stand, we're taking some of them with us. Someone's at the bedroom door. Not trying to break in, just knocking, politely. 3 soft knocks, just like at the mall 3 years ago. A voice, young, calm. "Mr. Parker, I'm Logan. I think it's time we talked about my father." The window just shattered. Smoke grenade. Can't see, can't breathe. Sarah's hand in mine, pulling me toward the bathroom, our last fallback. Recording ending. If you're watching this, remember, evil doesn't die when you kill one monster. It multiplies, it adapts, it learns. Check your locks, watch your children, trust your instincts, and never, ever answer the door on Halloween night. Recording ends. According to FBI reports, Derek and Sarah Parker were recovered alive after a 17-hour standoff. Logan Brenner and 6 other collectors were killed in the raid, but 13 others escaped. The FBI estimates over 100 collectors are still active across the United States. This Halloween, be careful. They're still out there, still hunting, still collecting.